So what's the body going to do with the rest? What's the liver going to do with the rest of the glucose? Well, we've got an amazing fuel depot, fuel supply. I call it the basement stores. You know what the basement stores are? They're the fat cells. And what's happening to Americans today? They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. When I used to visit my daughter 25 years ago, I could go to a store and buy a small size. Today I have to go to a special section called the petite section. Because 40 years ago, 50 years ago, my size was actually a normal size. It's actually not a normal size today, which is crazy, isn't it? But Australia's up equal with America here. 63% of Australians are obese or overweight. Whew. What's caused that? Here it is. It's the high carbohydrate diet. So the third place that the liver will send that excess glucose is as fat. Now what I've given you here is basic science. I might have mentioned earlier that I like to use the BHSC method, Bible, history, science and common sense. So with history, we've got the history of people who never used to eat a high carbohydrate diet because people used to make what they eat. And that all takes a long time. So what did people eat a lot of? Well, Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, in her book Gut and Psychology, she actually looks at the histories and she said thick vegetable soups was probably one of the most common foods that people ate. You see, the mother would, on her fuel stove, would put it in the corner and maybe she'd throw a bone or two in there as well, especially if they didn't have a lot of money, but the vegetables are cheap. So historically, people ate, on the whole, a lot of vegetables. And let's go back to even more primitive times when there wasn't refrigeration. If an animal was killed, they would dry a lot of it, they'd have a big feast for a couple of days, but they may not eat meat again for another month. What did they eat? A lot of vegetables, roots, things that they grew. So historically, you can see that. Now we're looking at scientifically. So when people are on this high carbohydrate diet, too much glucose is released. The body can only deal with so much, so it has to be stored in the fat cells.